Hello, everyone. How are we? Hopefully, all of you is having a good day or fantastic day, wherever we are around the world. How are we, chat? Hopefully, everyone's good. Hopefully, everyone's well. Of course, we was live earlier on talking about Milos Kerkez, but we are here to discuss yet more Liverpool news. As you can see on screen, and as you can see by the thumbnail and the title, we are definitely here to talk about Luis Diaz. Of course, it looks like there's I say a bit of news. There is big news where it does come to Luis Diaz. Of course, it looks like he's upset with Liverpool in terms of contract talks. We will get into that in due course as well. But of course, we're not only going to talk about him, we're going to talk about Darwin Núñez as well. Supposedly, there's a bid coming from Napoli, which we will discuss in due course. Also, we'll talk about Andy Robertson. Ibu Kanate as well, who's supposedly meant to be, asking to leaving Liverpool, or, has already said to Liverpool he's going to be leaving at the end of next season. And of course, we're going to kickstart the show talking about Marc Guéhi as well, which hopefully, that deal will get done over the line very quickly. But how are we, chat? Hopefully everyone's well. If you are new, please do hit that like button, hit the subscribe button. If I can play talk. Subscribe button, if you can hit that, very much appreciated as always. And yeah, if anybody is new, then please do so. And also, again, hit the like button as well, because you normally get around 20 likes on a night show anyway. So if you can get that, be very much appreciated as always anyway. But like I said, we are going to kickstart the show talking about Marc Guéhi. Now, according to Dave O.C. Kopp, as you guys can see on screen right now, it does say exclusive news. Liverpool are closing in on a deal to sign Marc Guéhi from Crystal Palace. Guéhi has just 1 year left on his current deal at Palace. Liverpool have held discussions over recent months, and with Guéhi's representatives has revealed exclusively back in March. Now, for me, I think Marc Guéhi to Liverpool, it's a very good possibility it does happen. Of course, there's no talking point at the minute in terms of price tag either, because of course Liverpool at the minute, want to sell. We know this for a fact now that Liverpool want to sell first and then go again in terms of like a second push then in the transfer window. Of course, we've already signed the likes of Florian Wirtz, obviously today Milos Kerkez and Jeremy Frimpong, but Liverpool now want to hold now in terms of the signings. A look, of course, where they're going to sell, players on, because again, we're all expecting Joel Konza to go to Bayer Leverkusen, but there is no medical even done yet. Of course, Liverpool have agreed a deal with Bayer Leverkusen for Joel Konza, but a deal is not even in place yet because, of course, Joel Konza is currently with England with the Under-21 Championship. Again, I believe they play Germany, don't they? On Saturday. So after that, we'll then know that type of deal. So then Liverpool might go after Marc Guéhi. I think after that, there could potentially be an option. But I think at the moment, we're currently waiting to see what happens in terms of sales, because again, adding Marc Guéhi into the Liverpool team, obviously letting go of Joel Konza, letting go of Darwin Núñez potentially as well. Obviously, it will add up, the amount of, if Liverpool get their wish, they'll get over 100 million for the two players. So, I think in terms of Marc Guéhi to Liverpool, of course, the question's always been there in terms of playing time. Would he get enough playing time at Liverpool? I think he would personally. I don't foresee any problems with Marc Guéhi, getting any minutes at Liverpool, especially with there's talk around Ibu Kanate's current situation as well. So there's definitely something there with Marc Guéhi to Liverpool. And look, I think if we're being honest, I think Marc Guéhi has his eyes set on a Liverpool move. Because again, I think the encouraging point about it is the fact there's no other links at the minute with Marc Guéhi in terms of teams like Newcastle, in terms of Spurs, for example. These two teams definitely wanted Marc Guéhi at the end of the January window, and there's been nothing really circulating around him potentially moving to Newcastle or to Tottenham either. So I think, look, I'm not going to say Marc Guéhi to Liverpool is a done deal, because look, it definitely isn't. Look, Liverpool will have a set price that we think Mark Gahey is valued at. Of course, Crystal Palace will have another valuation as well, which is supposedly around £50 million. And look, there might be some sort of compromise there, similar to the Milos Kerkez situation where, look, Liverpool seen him around 30, 35, 40 million. Obviously, there was talk that Bournemouth wanted him for around 50 million. Again, Liverpool compromised really with that and ended up getting him for 40 million. Which it was a pretty good deal, to be fair. But I think, and again, let me know your guys' thoughts in the chat. Mark Gahey to Liverpool, I think it will happen. I think it's a smart signing for both teams, really, or for Liverpool mainly. But of course, for Palace, you can obviously move on and rebuild, which of course they look like they're going to go on and do with Ousmane Diomande as well. So there's definitely an option there for the summer, of course. But again, let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comment section down below anyway. But we will move on and talk about Ibou Konaté now then. Of course, discussing outgoings, really, like we mentioned just now. Now, you guys would have seen this earlier on if you are on social media. Of course, Santi, who has been reliable in the past, but has been not so reliable in the past, so do take it with a slight pinch of salt, has come out and said, if you guys can see this, Ibou Konaté has been offered to Real Madrid, PSG, and more clubs in 2026. Talks on new contract have stalled, and the French centre-back is keen on a new challenge. Ibou Konaté favours Real Madrid. Now, if you go on to read this, it does go on to say that he is told, in brackets, told Liverpool he's going to leave on a free contract. Now, my first response was as simple as that. If he's told Liverpool he's going to see out his contract and not sign anyone, you have to get rid of him now. Yeah, it's plain as it's plain as day. You have to get rid of him now. Even though Ibou, I think, is so good. I think he's in the top 5 centre halves in world football. I think Virgil van Dijk is the best. I think Ibou is amazing as well. But I currently look at it as with that and go, there's been some sort of stallment in terms of wage. It's quite clear that's happened because. What was it? Just probably under a year ago now that we heard the news from Paul Joyce confirming the news that both Ibou Konaté and Jarell Konsa were in, we're in contract talks with the football club. It looked like a deal was going to get done. Of course, Jarell Konsa back, back in October, September, October time, got a deal signed, and Liverpool managed that. And then the whole Ibou Konaté deal didn't really develop into much, after that. And of course, there's been conversations around, Ibou's been disappointed with Liverpool's contract offers, and we're not really developing much in that conversation. And then at the end of the season, there was conversations around, and there'd been positive talks around Ibou's contract, which again I think made a lot of Liverpool supporters very happy with that. But I think there is that approach, really, where of course everyone will be having it, because again, Liverpool lost one of their best assets in Trent Alexander-Arnold to Real Madrid, and rightfully everyone is concerned about that. I think everyone has the mindset of, look, we could end up losing another player that could go for £100 million in the future, and that's the real deal. Where you look at the centre halves at the moment, you look at, for me, a World Cup year. And of course, Ibou, if he was to stay, would obviously stay for Liverpool and would most likely start week in, week out. But with me also saying that as well, like we kind of seen with Trent Alexander-Arnold, we were very much happy resting Trent and playing Conor Bradley, where if it was maybe under normal circumstances, if the title race was going right to the end, maybe we wouldn't have done that so much. But I kind of look at it and go, if Liverpool next season have another easy going at the Premier League title, what's to say, for example, if we go on to sign Mark Gahey, what's to say Ibou's not going to start week in, week out? What's to say he's not going to be on the bench 24/7? Because for me, I think Arne Slot will do that. If Konaté's approach next season isn't at 100%, as we've seen throughout the season, he will bench you. He is ruthless. I think the whole Liverpool department, in terms of the backroom team and in terms of like the hierarchies, now they do have this ruthless approach of, if you're not good enough, you're not pulling your weight, we will bench you. We will, even though on paper we shouldn't do it, but in the realistic world, we will put you aside and go, no, for our future, for the long-term future of Liverpool Football Club, we will we will put you out and not play you. And I think Ibu will sign a new contract? Yes, I do. I do think this report, like I said at the start, you have to take it with a huge pinch of salt. But the one thing I will also say as well is that if there are concerns about his contract, then you do have to kind of go, right, what do we do here? Do we think it's going to be like another Virgil and Mo where, we have the confidence that he will sign? Of course, it's just about certain individual things. Or is it going to be a bad state of like, oh, we're going to have to kind of think about letting him go and not, and it's going to be another Trent situation, really. And I think going for a centre-half as well, I think that's huge for Liverpool because, like we said, if Liverpool get Mark Gahey, he plays on the right easily. He plays on the right-hand side for Liverpool. But then what else do they do? Because I really would find it interesting to know what we would have done if we had got Dean Huijsen. And look, by all accounts, if Real Madrid didn't come in for him, Liverpool would have got him, by the looks of things, or, from what we know of anyway. And I would really be intrigued to see what we would have done then. Would we have gone for another centre-half? Or is that the game plan even now? Are Liverpool signing Mark Gahey to be in preparation for Ibu Konaté's departure? Or are we signing Mark Gahey to obviously bolster that position while also then looking for another centre-half that can mature enough going into the Virgil van Dijk role in the next 2-3 years? That's an interesting point. But for me, I think it is interesting, really, to see what we do. But of course, we'll have to wait and see what more happens with Ibu. But in my opinion, I do think he will sign a new contract. And because again, if Liverpool win the Premier League or Champions League this next season, then I think that adds to the whole thing of like, look, we can 100% go on to offer him a bit more anyway, or offer him, of course, more in terms of contract renewal anyway. But evening, Doug, hope you're doing well. Ollie says, well said, Colin, as well. Apologies if I sound rough as well. I think I do have a cold coming, which is a bit horrible, especially this time of the year. Big up John as well, saying, hi Con, Konaté and Diaz can go if they want to be here. No player is bigger than the club. Yeah, absolutely agree. Konaté, Diaz can both go. I don't know why that's come up twice. But yeah, no, I'd agree 100%. A big up Tasser as well, saying, why is Diaz crying? His dad has been talking for Barcelona for years. No, Barca don't have the money. Don't have the money to buy him. They want a new contract. Diaz, don't let the door hit you on the way out. We'll talk about Luis Diaz because, look, I'm going to talk about him a bit later on. But I think with Lucho, it's like I think it is just mainly a tactic point of view, really, where they are using, like, oh, we're unhappy, this, that, and the other. But look, I don't want to say too much on it, but I do think the whole the whole Luis Diaz camp, they don't really speak for the player. Now, I'm not going to say anything more about it because we're going to talk about it later, but yeah, I think there's two different contrasts when it comes to the whole the Luis Diaz situation, in my opinion, anyway. But again, we'll have to wait and see what does happen with that anyway. But we will move on and talk about Andy Robertson then, because it looks like now Robbo is staying with the football club after all of the the whole bloody merry-go-round with Andy Robertson and Atletico Madrid. It's now being, well, not kind of confirmed, but Atletico Madrid have moved for somebody else. So, as you can see there from Fabrizio Romano, as he does say, Atletico Madrid are closing in on a deal to sign Matteo Rug. Again, that's easy enough for me to say. Rugi, again, apologies if I butcher it, as new left wing back. He's now ahead of other candidates, as Marca reported. Negotiations underway for the final details being sorted with Atalanta then, and then here we go. So it looks like they have decided to go elsewhere in terms of Andy Robertson. Now, with that being said, we knew for a fact that Liverpool wanted around, as you guys can see, Marquez there. Not Marquez, João Pedro. We knew for a fact Liverpool wanted around £8 to £10 million for him. And there was reports going around about how there was conversations that obviously Trent and his agency wanted around. Well, didn't want Liverpool to get a transfer fee for him. They wanted Liverpool to let him leave on a free transfer, similar to how they very much wanted. If you guys remember back when Jordan Henderson was going to leave the football club, there was loads of conversations going around that of course, Jordan Henderson was going to leave Liverpool on a free because supposedly in brackets, Trent's agency, Trent's brother basically wanted Liverpool to let Jordan Henderson go on a free to the Saudi Pro League. Similar with Andy Robertson, the same type of report came out saying that Liverpool don't want to let him go on a free, but his agent wants Robbo to leave for a free. That was never ever going to happen. We know that for a fact. Like, Liverpool are never going to turn around and go, even though Andy Robertson's been a tremendous servant for Liverpool, we were never going to turn around and go, oh yeah, you can leave us for free, or leave, oh yeah, you can go and do whatever you want and go to Atletico Madrid, and we don't want a transfer fee. Of course we want a transfer fee. Like, again, Liverpool want to recruit something. Again, I think Liverpool could have got a lot more than £8 to £10 million personally. But looking at it, we're not going to let you go for free. And that's why I said it earlier on in the Milos Kerkez video, that for me, the sooner Liverpool get rid of every player that's with that Trent, I say Trent's agency, Trent's brother's agency, the sooner they get rid of every player involved with that, the better. And again, I think the only players we have on their agency list now is Robbo. Because we did have Nat Phillips on the books with us as well. But I don't think that's the case now. I think it is just only Andy Robertson. So looking at it, for me, look, Robbo will be a perfect understudy for Milos Kerkez now, because, look, I think Milos Kerkez is undoubtedly Liverpool's number one. There's no real argument to that for next season. But obviously Robbo will have a massive impact for next season, because look, he'll give knowledge towards Milos Kerkez, and also will be huge in certain situations for Liverpool throughout the season. Certainly in cup games and even some Champions League games as well. I'm still confident in saying that Arne Slot will choose potentially Andy Robertson for one or two games, because, again, Robbo is plenty experienced. Again, captain mentality within the team as well. So that is very, very vital for Liverpool, for the season ahead. And I think, look, on an overall perspective, having a player like Andy Robertson is vital in your squad. Of course, being on 150 grand a week isn't necessarily great, because, again, having a backup on that isn't really great. And this is why I think Liverpool are not offering him a new contract either, because Liverpool, obviously, Robert would easily want a pay rise. Liverpool are not going to give him that pay rise. So when you look at that, I think going to go, we'll keep him for one more year, let him go for a free then next summer. But then you've got the maximum then out of Andy Robertson, because then he's fulfilled his contract. He's spent one more year at the football club learning, or teaching, I should say, Milos Kerkez at Liverpool, and then we'll move on and can go wherever he wants. Then in terms of Saudi, or even staying in Europe, which I think Robbo would. I think Robbo would stay in stay in Europe. Then I should say. Anyway, but. Big up Spirit of LFC fans. Will saying hi. How are we? Like, comment, share, subscribe. Yeah, hopefully you do well. Mate as well. Big up Ollie as well, saying hi, Con. Simica staying? No, Like I would say no personally. I think he goes. I think now it will be Kirkes and Robbo, which is the correct decision, by the way. And then I think over the next year, Liverpool will look to replace Robbo with a backup for Milos Kirkes. Whether or not that is a competitive backup in terms of just, in terms of, would change in and out for Milos Kirkes, or whether or not it's going to be a full up backup. Again, I think you are not looking more at a backup then, really, in terms of Liverpool not, we're not going to actively look for a player to match or compete with Milos Kirkes, because we view Milos Kirkes as being the guy that will 100%, play every game then, really, if he can, obviously. But look, at the end of the day, I think I personally look at it and go, that what makes the most sense out of anything, really. But again, we'll have to wait and see for that anyway. But we will move on and talk then about Mr. Darwin Núñez. Now, Darwin has, I say Darwin's created fuss. He hasn't really, to be fair. But there is a bid expected for Darwin Núñez. There is a bid from Napoli that reportedly is being discussed at the present moment in time. Now, this is coming from Fabrizio Romano again on Darwin Núñez. And, just for a short term, it does look like he will be going there. Now, Fabrizio Romano is saying that negotiations continue between Napoli and Liverpool for Darwin Núñez. Initial request in excess of 65 million euros, but Napoli are trying to work on a deal structure and obviously flexibility on the whole package. Núñez wants the move, as reported last week. Personal terms are being discussed. Now, there was also another report from Matteo Moratto actually on Darwin, saying that Liverpool want around 70 million pounds for Darwin, which would be, I don't even know how much that would be in euros. I think it would be around 80 million euros. Or could even be a bit more than that. Now, will Liverpool get 70 million pounds for Darwin Núñez? No, I don't think we will. I think, look, that whole, that request there in terms of 65 million euros, that works out to around 50, was it like just 56, 57 million pounds? Look, for me, I think Liverpool will sell Darwin Núñez this summer. I think it will be Napoli that he will go to. I think Antonio Conte, by the looks of things, is desperate to sign Darwin Núñez. And again, I'm very intrigued to see how he will fit in at Napoli, because, of course, last season they win the Serie A. Obviously they beat Inter towards the title. Obviously they've got currently Romelu Lukaku. They've got Scott McTominay. They've got Kevin De Bruyne going there as well. Obviously if Darwin Núñez goes there, that's also adding in that structure. And look, Antonio Conte, for the manager who, is very, varied from different formations over the years, but, he's played a 3-4-3 and he's played, he has played in the past a 4-2-3-1. But last season, certainly towards the back end of the season, he did start using a 4-3-3, which I think would be very interesting. If you have having a Kevin De Bruyne at the top of your midfield three and having players like Darwin Núñez, Romelu Lukaku, and having them, strikers running in behind and scoring, loads of goals for Napoli, that's dangerous. That's really, really frightening. And look, do I think Darwin to Napoli is a good move for him? I do. I think, of course, he wants to stay and compete in Europe. He wants to play Champions League football. He wants to be at the top level of football, which again is good signs for him, really. But look, in terms of his Liverpool career, it is done. And I've seen a few people saying, "Oh, maybe we should give Darwin one more season and see how it goes." Like, no, like we know for a fact it's not worked. Unfortunately, for some reason, it's not worked out. But I think in Napoli and under Antonio Conte, I think it could. I think his career could get re-energized. You could, if it's any manager to get the best out of a player, it's Antonio Conte. Like, let's not get this twisted. Like, Antonio Conte made Victor Moses one of the best wing backs in world football at one point. Let's not get that twisted either. So if there is a manager that could do it, it's Antonio Conte. Of course, Jurgen Klopp tried it with Darwin. Arne Slot's tried it with Darwin Núñez, and both have failed really to get the best out of him. So we'll have to wait and see. And I think looking at a league like Serie A as well, I think Darwin will absolutely smash it as well. So look, for me, I think Liverpool max will get 50 million for him. Whether or not Napoli do that, of course, there's conversations around it. But I do think Darwin Núñez to Napoli is going to happen. I do really think it will happen over the next couple of days and weeks in the transfer window anyway. But again, let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comments. But we're going to get on into the final part of tonight's story. Of course, discussing Luis Diaz. And Luis Diaz is very unhappy with Liverpool Football Club. Now, this was an exclusive. Obviously, tonight, we were live with the Milos Kerkez news. And it did pretty much break before we went live. Now, it is from Pepe as well. Obviously, Pepe's been obviously the main guy for Luis Diaz news. Obviously, with he was the first guy that did report on it. Where he was going to join Liverpool, and of course, ever since then, he has been the number one guy when it comes to Luis Diaz and Liverpool news. Now, this did break, as you guys can see on screen right now, from an exclusive from him as well. As it says, exclusive: Luis Diaz and his entourage are upset with Liverpool's stance. They feel the club have gone back on their word once again with the player. Something similar happened before with his contract renewal, and now with the possibility of a transfer. So what it does go on to say, from what we know, is that again Liverpool and Luis Diaz was reportedly told Liverpool were going to give him a new contract. They were in discussions with it. Now there's nothing else being spoken about. Now there's been reports from plenty of Liverpool journals claiming that Liverpool are not giving him a new contract, and that's what supposedly is the frustrating part about it with them. Now, in my personal opinion, does Luis Diaz have the right to be frustrated with his current situation? Possibly, because again, he had a very small contract when he joined the football team. Do I personally think Liverpool will give him a new contract? No, I don't. I think Liverpool are very much happy with letting his contract see out, and then hopefully then. Well, I say hopefully, but then maybe next summer, or even Liverpool will allow him to leave on a free transfer. But at the present moment in time, Liverpool are not willing to give him a new contract. Now, why? Why are Liverpool not willing to give him a new contract? I think it's because in the current, the current scheme of the squad, if Liverpool offer Luis Diaz a new contract, you are looking around £200,000 per week minimum, I think, where it does come with that. Even though, again, you've got players like McAllister, you've got players like Gakpo, who are earning, even excluding McAllister there, but looking at other players that over a current contract, like Cody Gakpo is on I think what he's on, like 150, 160 a week, which again is nowhere near what Luis Diaz is on. But at the present moment in time, Liverpool don't want to renew. That's the simple thing around it. And again, Luis Diaz has 2 years left on his contract. I think the current crop of it is, if Liverpool are not going to sell him, then he wants a better contract. He wants to stay at the football club. He wants to have a new long-term deal. He wants to, of course, to sign on. But it's that sense of Liverpool are very much happy with the current situation and don't want to renew, because again, I think the ideal plan for Liverpool is to replace Luis Diaz in the future. Again, the thing that is against Lucho is age is one thing. Like, how old is Luis Diaz? 27, 28? If you offer him a new 5-year deal, then you're going to struggle to get rid of him unless it's to the Saudi Pro League. At the current moment in time, his current valuation, Barcelona wanted him, didn't they? And we know Luis Diaz's dad has been spoken forever about how Lucho wants to one day join Barcelona, and that's his ultimate dream. Now, for me personally, Liverpool can be very annoyed at that. Why on earth his dad's come out and saying this? Even Lucho come out and said that, no, I want to stay at Liverpool. I want to be here for the long term and this, that, and the other. But when your entourage and when your team is coming out and going, oh no, he wants to join Barcelona one day, why shouldn't Liverpool be annoyed at that? Really. Now, in my honest opinion, I think, look, it's a tactic from Liverpool. not Liverpool, sorry, from Luis Diaz's team to go and have now like contract talks. But we know for a fact that this new regime with Richard Hughes and Michael Edwards, it is ruthless, and Liverpool will wait it out and see what happens. My honest opinion, I think Luis Diaz will leave next season. Next summer, sorry. I don't think he's going to leave this summer. I think Liverpool are very happy with the players they have. I think Lucho and Cody Gakpo, they're very happy with that side of the pitch. But also as well, if there was an opportunity where, for example, like Saudi come in with a £70 million bid or a £60 million bid, I think that's then a conversation of like, what Liverpool going to do? Because all right, Barcelona came in for Liverpool, spoke with Liverpool about Luis Diaz. Liverpool rejected the move because Barcelona were trying to penny pinch. Let's be honest. And now they've gone and looked at Nico Williams, which probably Luis Diaz is annoyed at if he wants to join Barcelona. But at the end of the day, the only team that can effectively buy Luis Diaz is the Saudi Pro League. And at the current moment in time, does Lucho want to stay at Liverpool or go to the Saudi Pro League? It looks like he wants to stay at the football club. So then he wants a new contract, but then Liverpool not give him a new contract. So, by that, like, he kind of should do what Liverpool, kind of want him to do. Next summer, obviously Barcelona, they'll have Nico Williams, they'll have Rafinha, for example, they have other players. But there is a quite clear indication that Deco at Barcelona wants Luis Diaz. I would not be surprised next summer if Liverpool let Luis Diaz go for like something like £30 million to Barcelona. I would not be surprised if that happened. But as far as this summer, he's not going anywhere. And I think there's going to be a lot more news coming out over the next couple of weeks about his situation, really. And I wonder whether or not Liverpool may go, well, if a deal comes in for him now, someone will take him in terms of Saudi. But I don't think he'll go Saudi. I think he'll stay at Liverpool. And I think he will. I think Lucho will leave next season. In my honest opinion, I think next summer he'll stay for this current season coming up. And then with 1 year left in his contract, I think Liverpool might let him go. But again, that depends on who they can replace him with as well, because of course there's plenty of other people being discussed at the moment. People like Malik Fofana from Lyon. There's different bits and pieces being spoken about. So it will be interesting to see what does happen with Lucho. Me personally, I think, like I said, he'll stay for 1 more year, and then I think he'll be sold next summer. But in terms of a new contract, I don't think he gets one, in my honest opinion. Anyway, but again, let me know your guys' thoughts down in the comments section down below anyway. But look, let me know your guys' thoughts on everything we've mentioned tonight. Of course, Darwin, Mark Gahey, Ibu Kanate, Andy Robertson, and of course, obviously Mark Gahey, Luis Diaz as well. Obviously, let me know your guys' thoughts on all of that down in the comment section down below. Anyway, but we are going to leave it there for tonight, guys. Big thank you for everyone for tuning in to tonight's show. Hopefully everyone is having a great day anyway. But yeah, hopefully we'll see you guys tomorrow for another episode anyway, if there is anything. If not, if there's no news tomorrow, we will be doing other bits and pieces as well on the channel. So make sure you are staying tuned for that, of course. And yeah, hopefully I will see you guys tomorrow for another episode on the channel anyway. But I've been Connor from the Cock Council. We'll see you guys later on. Ta-ra.